Hi, this is Pastor Andrea, and I'm going to walk you through the process of making your Anglican prayer beads. Now, one of the things that I really want to stress is that I am not perfect at this, and I don't expect that you're going to be. And there are going to be times you'll see when I might fumble with a bead or even drop a bead. And so that's one reason why I suggest putting something down on your workspace to begin with. So, for instance, I have this towel that I'm going to use. You could use a towel or a cookie sheet or a tray or anything like that that will keep your beads from rolling away, because that's always a danger in this process. Okay, so our first step is going to be to carefully take our beads out. So we can put them out. If you're using a towel, it works really well because you can just dump them and they'll kind of stay where they are. So make sure that you have your instructions. Make sure that you have your beads and the piece of cord and the cross. So the first step is to take the cross and put your cord through it and make sure that you have the cross in the very middle and then the two ends together. Next, you're going to take the two ends together and thread them through the invitatory bead and then through the first cruciform bead. So what you've got looks like this. Now when you have that, the next step is to separate the two sides of your cord. And you can set it down if you want to. That sometimes makes it a little bit easier. And then we're going to start putting on the weeks beads, 7 at a time, and then a cruciform bead, and then more weeks beads. And then we'll do the same thing on the other side. Now, you may have noticed that I have a helper who has joined me here. This is my cat, Kato. So another piece of advice that I might have for you is if you have a cat, you might want to make sure that you move your cat out of the way. So now we can start with putting our beads onto the string. So now we have 7 of the weeks beads, and so that means that it is time now for one of the cruciform beads. So we put the cruciform bead on there, and then we do 7 more weeks beads on this side. So now I've chased down my bead that bounced away and went under the refrigerator. So having retrieved my bead, I'm going to continue on stringing. So again, it's good to do this in a place where you can find your beads if they do happen to get away from you. It happens to everybody. All right, so that's it for this side. We have 2 sets of weeks beads and we have 1 cruciform bead. Now on this side, we're going to start off again with the weeks beads. We're going to do 7 of them and then a cruciform bead and then 7 and then another cruciform bead. So this side will have 2 cruciform beads on it. All right, finally we have 7 here, so it's time for a cruciform bead. And now we need 7 more weeks beads. And now it's time for our last cruciform bead. Now, all the beads are on the string, and this is a super important time. You want to be sure that when you pick them up to tie them, that you stay over your workspace, because sometimes you might drop them, sometimes the string might get away from you, and I've seen these beads just go all over the place after you've spent all this time working on them. So what I would encourage you to do is stay right over your workspace. You might want to ask your parent to come and help you tie this, because this is a little bit tricky. You want to make sure you leave a little bit of room so that the beads can move as you're praying with them. And to tie the knot, you want to make a circle with the cord, kind of around your finger like this. And then you want to put the ends through like this. I say, easier said than done sometimes. Then you can kind of move the knot down carefully toward where you'd like it to be. If you want, just to be sure, you could tie a second knot. What I would do there is I would go around like this, so it's around the knot. Kind of gives you a little bit of extra protection from this coming apart. And then you bring it through and tie it. And once you've got that, then you can trim it with some scissors. Now you don't want to trim it too close because you don't want it to pull out after all that work you've done. I'd say leave maybe a 1/4 inch or so. Trim it off, and then the beads will actually slide over the knot, so you have a full circle of prayer beads, and now you have successfully made Anglican prayer beads. You can pray with these. You can, if you want to, put them on a backpack. You could give them to your mom or your grandma. But I'd like you to try praying with them just once during the week. And if you want to bring them to church, you can bring them in and have them blessed.